Well, good evening once again, and welcome to the Monday Review Show, the show where we discuss refereeing issues and things that happened. And what a week it's been this past week. Lots of action in the English Premier League. Some might say on and off the field, where not only players were involved, but coaches also um, being naughty and getting red cards and so on. I'm delighted to be joined again by Keith Hackett from England. But before we speak to Keith, if you'd like to make any comments on the show, you'd like to things discussed, please do contact the show. If you look down on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a little thing there, and you can swipe across and make a comment. And I will endeavour to cover those issues. But anyway, Keith, Man United, rather.
Good evening.
What is happening? It's just getting to ridiculous proportions now. The amount of it just seems to be increasing all the time in intensity. The pressure on the referees, the back chat from the players, hounding the referees, and we don't see that in rugby. We watched the Six Nations the weekend. You get guys who are 6'15" and 29 stone, and they just walk off like church mice when they get a red card. And here in soccer, our game that we've loved and serviced for so long, just being dragged down into the gutter by the behaviour of players and now some managers.
Yeah. I mean, what we saw at the weekend was, if you like, a culmination of things. I think over recent years, we've seen referees relinquishing and not applying with authority the laws of the game, and all in the interests of keeping the game flowing and entertainment, any excuse that you can go along. And of course, we had the situation where Willian of Fulham has made a terrific run. From the television, you can see instantly that he's handled the ball. That's not clear to the referee, in fairness to him. VAR correctly comes in and says you need to review it. So you can see on the replays that they're playing to us as viewers of television that he has handled the ball, and it is the denial of an obvious goal. So as the referee's walking to the screen, that if he applies the law, he's going to send Willian off. But in getting to the review area, the monitor is confronted by the manager, Silva, of Fulham. Now, again, knowing and having the knowledge of the laws is helpful, because we know in the laws of the game that if a player, substitute or substituted player, or any member of the technical staff or manager enters the review area, which is clearly marked on the pitch near the monitor, a box is marked. If they enter that, it's an automatic yellow card. But the referee, clearly unhappy with what appears to have been said, produced an immediate red. So you've got in the review process, or even before, a red card has been shown, and he then reviews, he comes back, and he now is going to issue a red card, which he does from probably 10 yards in from the touchline. He makes the signal, and Willian is red carded. Now, what he's got alongside him is Mitrovic, who is clearly unhappy and has now got involved in something that he shouldn't have got involved in. But I suggest that he probably has seen the indiscipline from his manager. He thinks he's got license now to have a go at the referee, and the referee, having already issued red cards, is not going to give another.
Okay.
The referee is ignoring him, and at which point Mitrovic grabs hold of the arm of the referee, the left arm, spins him round, and then almost nose to nose, not foot in between them, but nose to nose, he's very, very aggressive in his approach. The referee almost comes backwards, almost in an arch form, his body, and he rightly produces a red card.
Okay, can we take them? There were 3 red cards then within a matter of very, very short time.
Less than a
and
minute.
all about the same incident. So on the first one then, with the Fulham manager, Silva, approaching the referee, he obviously said something that wasn't very nice.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I didn't see the game. I was away.
Yes. Yes.
So the benefit of me, maybe, and you were obviously watching the game. It's a yellow card if anybody enters into the VAR, if you like, technical area.
Yes.
Or area.
Yes.
Did he produce a yellow card first and then a red?
No.
Or was it a straight red?
It was a straight red. He was looking down the technical area. So there was no encroachment into the review area from what we saw on the screen. I saw, but nonetheless, it was a straight red. Okay. So you know full well that something had been said to the referee, such that this is a mature referee. We know how referees try to approach the game without conflict.
Yeah,
the referee's got a tough call to make, and. So that's the first red card. He's given to Silva the red. I mean, Silva's seen it. I think we've got into the view that when a referee does go to the monitor, he's going to stick with a VAR decision. But on this occasion, when the referee went to the monitor, he had no alternative in law other than to send Willian off. Willian had made a run. He then opened his body up to a shot on goal, and the goal was directly going towards goal. There was no doubt about the handball. He'd used his hand and arm to prevent. So you knew full well that there's going to be a second red card. Okay,
so we'll just finish with the Silva one.
Yes.
Chris Kavanagh would be gentle old soul, I would think. He wouldn't be one to panic, and
correct.
And I'm delighted that he had the courage and the guts to give a red card for things that was obviously said. Nobody will know, and nobody does know except Chris Kavanagh and whatever's in his report, because he will report to the FA what was said to justify the red card. But you and I, we know the law, so we can only guess. On the Willian, I don't know how he's pronounced. On the handball, I've had many people contacting me saying, no, it wasn't a handball. His hand was by his side, and I thought the law said the movement of the hand or arm towards the ball, not the ball towards the hand. And he did appear, and I'm playing devil's advocate here now, he did appear to have his hand by his side. It didn't appear that there was a direct movement towards the ball to block it. As I say, I'm playing devil's advocate. I agree with the penalty and the red card. Would there be any justification for saying that his arm wasn't moving towards the ball?
I think that there may be some justification to say that, but in fact, what goes against that was that the player flattened his hand. And made the hand and arm larger, and did
it zoom in on him at all?
No. The thing is, for me, the movement of the body and the hand was sufficient to know that was a deliberate handball, and that deliberate handball had denied an obvious goal. So I wasn't in any doubt that when the referee saw that replay, a vision that I'd already had and VAR had, I knew that this player was the referee's not only going to award a penalty kick, he was going to send the player off. And just to clarify, because people have said, what about double jeopardy? Double jeopardy does not apply when a player deliberately, with use of his hand and arm, prevent or denies an obvious goal. So that doesn't come into play. It comes into play when the goalkeeper or a defender is challenging for the ball and commits a foul. You know, for example, if you've got a forward going for a player, an attacker going into the box and he's pulled back or he's deliberately tripped, no attempt by that defender to play the ball, double jeopardy doesn't apply. The penalty kick would be given and the player would be red carded for either the pull or the deliberate trip.
So just for the benefit of non-referees watching, we just explain to them exactly what double jeopardy means.
Well, double jeopardy was brought in by the IFAB because we had a situation where, with denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity offence, particularly in the penalty area involving the goalkeeper or a defender, the view was that the punishment was excessive, i.e. a goalkeeper trying to play the ball is careless, he brings down an opponent, there's a penalty kick, there's a red card, there's a return to the team having the opportunity to score, and then, of course, suspension. So what the authorities decided was we would take the view that if a goalkeeper, in diving and attempting to play the ball, brought down his opponent inside the penalty area, even with no defenders around, in that situation, a penalty kick and a yellow card would be the punishment. So in the case of Willian, handling and preventing a goal, that is a penalty kick and a red card. If that goalkeeper makes no attempt to play the ball and takes out the attacker, then that is not double jeopardy. That is straight red card and penalty kick. And it's just that small area where spectators, in fairness, and you know, and people get confused because of the anomalies within the law. But that's having the law knowledge, which the referee, of course, has on the day.
Yeah. And in fairness to Willian, he just walked off. I mean, he was a little bit shocked. I think he, shocked, surprised, disappointed, whatever. But he prevented a goal being scored. And
to some degree, I felt sorry for him because the lad had made a long run and got himself, as an attacker, got himself into a position to try and defend the goal. And sadly, the body shape was such that the hand prevented the ball entering the net. You know, I've had the discussion today. Well, it's a natural thing to do. Yeah, it is. But
maybe
I'm sorry.
Right.
The law states what it states, and the referee has to carry out the law. And the one thing about, you know, those two incidents, and then going back, but the third, these two cards were handled very efficiently by the referee.
Yeah,
he applied the law correctly. He remained pretty calm throughout. He wasn't flustered. He didn't show any panic. He didn't overreact. He remained neutral, which was a good piece of refereeing. But he had to apply the law. And credit to him, as I say, we don't know what the manager said, but we know that we'll take a bit as referees, and probably we've been critical of Premier League referees actually taking too much in recent years.
Yeah.
So here is a referee who says that's enough, and I'm not putting up with you, and off you go.
Yeah, Law 12 does say foul and abusive language, and etc. is a red card.
Yeah.
As I had many years ago. And if Willian, if he had, you know, another fraction of a second movement forward, would have got his body closer to the upright and could have prevented the ball with his body, but he probably panicked a little bit and saw it was going to get past him. So,
well, he was running diagonally towards that post, and his physical momentum took him away to some degree.
I just saw a brief clip on YouTube of the incident. Now, the third one and the most serious was this confrontation with the referee, which also resulted in a red card for Mitrovic.
Yeah.
I mean, this has got to stop, Keith. You and I have discussed this for many times, and I've put up on maybe I can find it here. Can I? I can. I'm sure
we have discussed it because you showed a film or a photograph of Roy Keane with Andy D'Urso.
There we go. Here. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yes. Well,
it's absolute nonsense, and I have to give credit to Sky Sports for the use of their this photograph. And not only that, there was a later one with Craig Pawson.
Yes.
Look at this, crowding around the referee.
Yes.
And now culminating in this one with Mitrovic. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to get that clip and put it up.
Yes. But yeah, I mean,
I'm waiting for the day because, it probably would not happen at Premier League level where there's lots and lots of cameras available. But these things are happening at the lower leagues. And I showed you some time ago this guy here who's a namesake of mine. He's no relation, Daniel Sweeney, who got attacked in a junior game.
Yes, that's right.
And then this lady in Pakistan, see the blood coming down from the back of her there. How long before that's going to happen in the Premier League? I mean, Mitrovic was very close. If he was that angry and didn't have some kind of self-control, he could easily have punched the referee.
You cannot condone what Mitrovic has done. Where I think we've now got the situation is, and I've said today, this would normally be a 3-match ban, and I've said that's insufficient.
Yeah.
And somebody said to me today, you've written in the Daily Telegraph and you've said minimum 10-match ban. Why? And I said, well, we've already had, the FA have already got a precedent where I can't remember the player's name, sadly, but there was an incident where a player took similar action with Alan Wiley, the referee, a few years ago, and he received a 10-match ban. There was, of course, the famous incident at Sheffield Wednesday where Paolo Di Canio pushed over Paul Alcock. Yeah. He got an 11-match ban. And the consequences of the incident involving Roy Keane and the photograph you've just seen, that impacted on that referee substantially because there was a great deal of coverage of that incident. There was a lot of pressure on that referee, and that referee suffered. And in my opinion, he didn't regain the type of form that he had. And so as a consequence, eventually he lost his position on the Premier League list. Yeah. I had to put him to the Championship and Football League in order for him to get his confidence back. And yes, he became a very good Championship referee, but at that time we decided, let him enjoy his refereeing without any financial penalty and move in the right direction.
But he never got back to the Premier League, though.
No.
I mean, that was his ultimate aim, and that's what he wanted to be.
Well, he was there. He was on the Premier League when this happened. So for me, I think that this is why I think the FA have got to get really serious. I've made it very clear. I've received a lot of support from people within the game. I did an interview on BBC 5 Live and Talk Sport this morning covering the same subject. None of them said at the time that the view was excessive. And the reason I say that is because of how we on this show have discussed it in the past and how we've just mentioned it. And the fact is that these incidents affect the game throughout the structure of the game itself, because the Premier League, first of all, is shown worldwide. That's not good for the image of the Premier League. Players, seeing that this is taking place, think it's a fashion, so let us do it. And as a consequence, it cascades down to grassroots level football. And we haven't got enough referees. We're seeing referees walking away from the game. it's a really serious matter.
Yeah.
And the enjoyment that you and I experienced, even though we had our difficulties, it seems to be going away pretty fast because of, okay, players being allowed to get away with things. So my view is referees have got to toughen up. We've got two likes.
And I wonder if they will, and I do believe they will. But there's an incident going on, and I'm regularly in contact with people in the USA, and there's an incident going through the courts now. And I don't know if you know the legal system. It can be state level, but then it can go federal level.
Yes.
And there's a case going on there, and I don't want to say too much of it. And
Yeah.
Paul is looking in. So Paul, I promise you I'd mention it. And I am mentioning it, but I can't say too much because it is going through the courts.
Yes.
But there's an incident where a referee was assaulted and has now taken the assaulter, if that's the right word, to court.
Yes.
For
Yes.
physical violence on himself. And as I mentioned about my namesake, Daniel Sweeney here, he's also brought a charge against the guy
Yes.
who assaulted him, and rightly so. I mean, the field of play should not be such that you can come on and assault another person, be it an opposing player, one of your own players, or the match officials. And assaulting a match official is like assaulting a police officer.
Yes.
And should be treated as such. And they cannot act with impunity on the field of play just because they are on the field of play. So Paul in America also said that some of the referees are not reporting assaults because they're afraid they won't get any more games.
I think that's
in some of the lower leagues in the UK?
Well, I think that's appalling. I mean, I do recognise that I have been told that happens at grassroots level in England.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is this: that as a league, and I'm president of a pretty good league here in the northeast, Midlands northeast. All our clubs have been informed about the particular behaviour. We've introduced a fair play league with a financial reward to clubs on a monthly basis. We've issued a very clear instruction that managers and members of the technical staff cannot approach the referee on the field of play at half time in particular. And last week, we've actually invoked, if you like, another letter that states very clearly that in celebrating the goal, we expect the teams to remain in the technical area, because we've got this thing of the risk of players running on, celebrating, and the opponent's getting frustrated and
it's a new thing
giving
now.
them a thumb.
Jumps running onto the field and celebrating with the goal score. When did that happen?
Well, we've seen it at Premier League level, and I'm telling you, here is a case where it's happening at grassroots level, and we're having to deal with these things. So I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, you want referees to be proactive. I think in this case, and I've been critical of referees. You know that in terms of their performances, decision making, but in reality, this referee did nothing wrong. This referee applied the law, applied it correctly, and had to resort to 3 red cards in the game, two for members of the playing staff and 1 for the manager. What an example that the manager has set for the players. And I think that action by him may well have created a picture that, hey, I'll get away with it, for a player. I'll have my 2 penneth as well.
Yeah. It's got to stop, and the only ones to stop it are the FA, and they've got to come in and support the referees. And I wonder how many of the Premier League, since we're talking about that, referees are scared to take that ultimate decision to show red cards, to really crack down, for fear that they will be accused of being too harsh and too strict and so on. The other thing that's going to happen is what will happen to Manchester United's Fernandes?
Well, nothing, of course. I mean, here is a situation where, just explaining or reviewing it, Fernandes laid his hands with no force on the assistant referee.
I thought he pushed him in the back. Yeah,
he pushed him.
Yeah.
So he's made contact. There's no
Yeah.
question he's made contact.
Yeah.
One has to say at that particular time, and this is what I said at the time, that this was a red card offence. I think you
Yeah.
supported that as well.
100%.
And I believe very clearly that, okay, did the referee see it? Probably not. The assistant felt it, and that ought to have been sufficient to say, I'm flagging, come across and send him off. He did not.
Sorry, Keith, on that issue there now, couldn't the VAR have intervened with the ref and say, did you see what happened? And couldn't he have gone and had a look at it?
Well, I think he could. I think he could, because it's a red card offence.
Yeah.
So I have no doubts that that should have happened.
Yeah.
So as a consequence, nothing happens. And I was appalled, because you don't want to be looking into the future, but you know how these things can actually escalate quickly. They are two separate offences, but they're no different. One player has raised his hands on the referee and into his face. Here was a situation where there was perhaps less venom, but no doubt he put his hands on the assistant referee.
Yeah.
Given the pictures that were clearly evident that showed the hand on the assistant referee by the player, I expected the FA to act. The FA, yeah, absolutely, to call the offence in. Don't involve the match officials. They on the day have not done their job. So now, in the interest of the game, I'm going to bring in Fernandes, and he's going to be charged, and then he goes through due process in the way that Mitrovic will go through due process. Whatever the outcome is, shouldn't really, to active referees, worry them. Just do your job.
Yeah.
The punishment is laid down. As a former referee, boss of the PGMOL, I'm suggesting 10 games for Mitrovic, and for Fernandes, I would have given him less of a punishment, but no doubt he would have had more than 3 games. But the FA did nothing. And I did go out and say very clearly that I was very disappointed. You know, I'm the sole guy here that is not worried about the politics of, oh, you'll not get this, that, and t'other. I'm really not worried. I'm interested in what are referees up to? How can we improve standards? And by lowering our standards, what can happen? And here, I don't take away the view that the assistant referee had, because frankly, if I was boss of the PGMOL, I would have dealt with it in-house. I would have brought a referee and assistant referee in, and I would have wanted to know from the assistant referee why he took no action. Right? And with the outcome of no sanction and the FA taking no sanction, I would want to know the process of which the FA has gone through to actually come to that decision. Because I've done that in the past. I've queried where our referees have sent players off for denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. The outcome has been, it's been overturned, and the referee's annoyed, and I've been equally annoyed because the referees applied the law correctly. Mm-hmm. And at one stage, I did go back to the FA and said, could you please tell me the quality of those that are sitting in judgment with regard to the laws of the game, and can you actually bring in a test on the laws of the game for those individuals?
But you know what they're going to do, Kate? They'll hide behind the fact that the referee never reported it.
Correct.
Because the assistant didn't say it to the referee, so therefore the referee didn't put it in his report. And they'll say, no action because we have nothing in the report. But it was plain to see for all that on television that he deliberately pushed the player from behind.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I personally don't think the FA can take that view. I think that they have to take a worldly view. What is good for the game?
Yeah, I
know that there is to some degree a slight caveat in that, because FIFA themselves, the IFAB, FIFA in particular, do not like games being re-refereed. That's their stance. But where you have, well, whether they still hold that view, I don't know. But my view is very clear. You've got VAR, And maybe I think my worry is this. I think that because I think these things through, and one of the thought processes was because the VAR has not become involved, do the FA believe that an expert viewing it, i.e. the Premier League referee who's acting in VAR, because he's not brought this to the attention of the referee, there'll be no course of action to actually review and do it. So that they may have taken that view, but hey, at the end of the day, they were wrong. And now they've got this one. Let's see what they get up to.
Be interesting to see what's going to happen. Keith, as always, thank you very much for joining me. We do it all again next week?
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks.
To you for being on the show tonight. And thank you all for people who are listening. Keep your comments coming in and I will reply to them. Until next Monday, 7 o'clock, good night and God bless. Thank you.
Good night, Errol.